Alrighty, welcome to Vibe Coding Live with Will Melton. Live Vibe Coding with Will Melton. One of these days I'm going to get this title right. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Is Show and Tell. We broadcast 1 p.m. on Saturday, 10 a.m. on Sunday, and 5:30 p.m. on Monday, with Monday being our Show and Tell day. So I want to actually spend a little bit of time showing off something that I've worked pretty extensively on. And I'll talk a little bit about the business. I'll talk a little bit about the opportunity for folks who might be interested in this. And I'll talk a little bit about the way that we're going to advance the product so that we can go to full business scale with it. So before we get started, if you're new to this program, my name is Will Melton. I am the founder and CEO of Exponent 21. We are a digital marketing agency that works to elevate clients and their brands to the top of AI for questions related to their industry, their brand, their company, their product, whatever it is. We help folks compete in the new world of AI search and AI discovery. If you are with me today, please leave me a message in the chat or comment side watching live. So tell me if my audio isn't balanced right, or if you have any questions, if you want me to think about something or play with something or build something, we can do that. So if you haven't been over to studio.willmelton.com, please visit studio.willmelton.com and you can follow me there. You can watch us live right on the website. You can subscribe on YouTube so that we can up our count there. You can follow me on LinkedIn. And you can see our schedule so you know when we'll be doing these live sessions. I also have I'm trying to switch my scene here so you guys can see it. I have a referral program. And so what we will do is pay people who are sending folks our way who might be interested in investing in these products or purchasing them. Potentially, we do have some in here that will be for sale, for auction. I don't know everything. I'll never claim to. I'm trying to learn with you guys. So if you have any ideas thank you for the note on the music. This is a problem that I've been having, so hang tight. Thank you, Glenn. Is that better? Just give me a thumbs up or give me some kind of indicator that we're better off now. In any event, I do have a program here that we invite folks to participate in to send folks our way if there's anybody who might be interested in these things. So please put your name in here, put your email address. You'll get notifications whenever new things hit, and whenever we have opportunities to send folks our way, you'll get a custom URL when you share these different items out to folks, and that's how we track your referrals. Hey, Jim, thanks for joining us. Glenn, thank you for the feedback. I do appreciate it. I know I'm getting started a little bit slow here because I am a little distracted, you guys. I have to be honest. I'm kind of excited. The venerable monks are going to walk by my window here in some amount of time. I'm not quite sure how long it's going to take them, but I'm hopeful that I get to catch a glimpse while I'm here with you guys. I went downtown to see them hang out with the mayor and the governor, and that was really cool. So in any event, let's kind of look into what we've got going on today. So I'm going to show you guys about Bank Wealth, which is something that I've been thinking about for about a year. And this all started because I am currently the board chair of Housing Families First. And I spend a lot of time thinking about affordability. I think about what it takes for people to own a home. I think about how people can pull themselves out of poverty. If you haven't followed my story, I was impoverished as a child, and I did not have all of the opportunities that my peers had. And so I had to make all this work for myself. I had to find a pathway to get there. And I found a pathway. And I've spent the last 20 years trying to figure out how to be better at it, how to be a better business person, how to be a better artist. And I have tried to capture that. I'm writing a book to talk about this. The book will be a tee-up for this product once it goes live. And I'm really interested in trying to bring people who don't have a path or don't know what their path is, or that don't know that the path is for them. I want to give them an opportunity to find that path. I want them to recognize that college, home ownership, business ownership, it's for them too. It's not just for those who've done it already. Everybody starts somewhere. Most people don't start with a big purse, and so we've got to help people think about what the next step is. And so Bank Wealth is an application. It was originally designed to be a bank. I thought, how are we going to effectively win this battle? And I think of it as a battle because if you think about banking, historically, banking has been a feudalistic model. So uh, those that have money lend it to those who don't. They get paid interest on that, and they provide some commodity-based services to consumers to be able to store their money and do some different things. But it's really the people who have the most wealth who are anointed with services and options and products that help them grow their wealth. And so, how do we help people start? How do we actually get people to the place where they themselves can be successful? Now, I believe that we're at a really epic time in history. I thought that COVID was a playing field leveler because it knocked everybody down and forced us all to figure out how to get back up. And those who were nimble, those who were a little smaller, maybe had the opportunity to, move faster and get ahead, while those who were bigger and maybe a little bit more bogged down had to fight their size to be able to make that innovation happen. Now we're well past that, but we're in this new era of AI, and artificial intelligence is empowering people and businesses to do amazing things. And we should be leveraging it to do amazing things. I think that AI provides us with an opportunity to solve some of our greatest challenges. And that's what I'm thinking about here with Bank Wealth. So I'll take you through the product just a little bit first. I'm not going to be able to share everything about this with you guys today because there are some sensitive business plans here. There's some proprietary information that we want to hold on to because we're talking about a competitive business. But we think about how we can tap into AI to help people focus on what it is that they need to be focused on so that they can be successful in pursuing their path. And I say path, it's a little bit different than goals. Goals are, I want to get a new car, or I want to go on vacation, or I want to get a new job. And those are legitimate and important goals. But pathways are a little different. They encapsulate more things. They encapsulate things like home ownership and college education, business ownership. Those things have many steps in order to accomplish success. And if you've never done it before, you might just be overwhelmed by the many steps that it takes to get there. And so, how might we think about focusing people's attention on the one step that they need to take right now to be able to be successful at pursuing their path? Now, the thing I'll share with you guys is the only thing separating somebody from success is starting. And so that is the crux of this whole thing. We want to find people who have ambition, who are eager to grow, and don't necessarily know how to do it. And that's what this app is for. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in here, and I'm going to sign into an account that I have been demoing with some dummy data in it. Hey, Michael, thanks for joining me. As loyal as one can be. I must be doing something right if you keep showing up, unless you just say hi and leave every time. All right, just messing around. Okay, so here's where we're at. A big part of Bank Wealth is about contextual AI. And so what do I mean by that? Well, depending on what you're doing in the application, the AI is going to be doing something different. Your chatbot is going to be thinking a little different, prompting you a little different. And so a couple of things that you'll see here. I mean, we just logged in. We don't have our welcome sign on because I'm not using a brand new account, but there is a wizard that somebody would go through to be able to indicate all of the details about their financial health and their comfort with financial planning and all the things that we might try to extract from them so that we can get a baseline understanding of who they are. But once they start using the application, we're going to start to ask them some questions so that we can gather even more information about them. And a lot of it has to do with their preferences, their feelings, their anxieties, their fears. And we gather that information over time. So we're asking, is there a financial decision you've been putting off? Yes. We'll just say, I need to buy a new car. And all that stuff. I mean, those things are going to come up occasionally, and ask folks for a little bit more information so that we can build that context layer that's going to be necessary for AI to provide the necessary recommendations. So here on the home screen, the Bank Wealth Coach is largely kind of neutral in its direction, its focus, and everything is about how do we get people encouraged? How do we get them to think about, hey, this is for you. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do a little bit. And so what we have is the opportunity to answer a question. There's always going to be a question that's presented so that we can gather more information about these people. And we are going to leverage that contextual AI. So as we move through the system and we move into the action territory, the coach is designed to give you advice and guidance and insights based on your data, based on our models, and based on what actions you might consider taking. And what we will do is assemble a long list of action items that people will ultimately be able to populate in their actions. Now, this isn't something that they've got to spend a lot of time thinking about. We really want to reduce the friction here. So there's a lot of things that might go into goals and pathways and the various things that people want to do. And in order to be successful at that, we have to make it really easy for people to want to log into this. And so the big premise here is that when we're in action mode, we're just giving people one action to take. We don't want you to be overwhelmed with a lot of activity, and we just want you to think about the one thing that you need to do. Now, this is not finished. This is still very early. We've got a lot of work to do to get the model right. Work towards emergency fund. Building 6 months of expenses and emergency savings is not something that you're going to do every day. It's not an activity that you conduct every day. You might think about ways that you can save every day or shift your expenses so that you're not buying lunch out so you can contribute to this, but it's not an action item. So this is wrong at this level of our development, and we're going to have to work on that. An action item might be to do some research about universities that you might want to attend. That's not a financial decision, but it is a part of the decision making process that people will have to complete in order to get to where they want to go. So these decisions, these actions are not always financial in nature. Sometimes they're planning, sometimes they're research, sometimes they're just thinking about it every day so that you can stay on top of what it is that you're aiming to do. Now, actions, we want to surface actions high up in this program because we want people to take action. That is the goal. And so we have that as the second item here in the navigation. But there's so much more that goes into this that is necessary in order for us to be able to provide tangible and quality recommendations. And so, first and foremost, we need to have a budget established. And I feel like most people, you probably have just the budget that you have. How much money do we have coming in? How much money do we have going out? And is that a positive cash flow or a negative cash flow? And what do we do to fix it? My belief says that this is going to limit your potential. If you're only working with the budget that you currently have, you're not imagining a future that's inclusive of the budget that you would like to have. And so I encourage everybody, and this application provides for this, to create a stretch budget. Once you've established your budget, you can begin the wizard to create a stretch budget and copy over expenses that you know you're going to have, copy over income you know you're going to have, but begin to plan in those different items that are going to help you get to that place and to understand what you want. So, in an ideal world, how many times would you vacation? Where would you go? What would that cost? What car would you drive? What house do you live in, and what does that cost? How often do you go out to eat? All the things that make up your life in the future when you earn more or less, if that's what your future looks like. That stretch budget is really designed to help you think about those steps that you need to take and how you prepare for the future. And really, what I'm doing here is helping people to break free of the notion that they're only ever going to be in their current budget. Belief is part of the battle here. Now, there's a third item here. You see the dream budget, and this is doing the exact same thing. And so, unlike the stretch budget, which is maybe more realistic for most people, the dream budget is exactly what it sounds like. And this is designed to help break that glass ceiling that we all have. We all have limitations. We all have limited beliefs. And if we allow those beliefs to stick around, that's where we'll stay. But if we can create new beliefs, and if we can expand the horizon, if we can raise that ceiling, We may never make the dream budget, but it's much, much more likely that we're going to reach the stretch budget. And so that's why we're approaching this from a 3-step budget process. And as we have more information, as those budgets are completed, it's going to make recommendations that are completely relevant to you and your interests and your fears and anxieties and desires. All of that will be taken into consideration when it comes to building your action plans. Similarly, goals are important. Goals might be a little bit smaller in nature. We might have some financial goals, we might have some ownership goals. Um, but generally speaking, everybody's got some kind of goal out there. You might want to buy an ATV or plan that dream vacation that you've got. And so it's important that we put these things in here so that we can have a realistic view of what the future will look like and what we're going to have to do to be able to accomplish these goals, while also accommodating the pathways that we've established for ourselves. So let me talk about pathways. Pathways, and as we dream it now, are business ownership, education, and home ownership. Those are three big areas in life that if you've never done it, there's a good chance you don't know how to do it. And so we need to help people with those things. One of the things that I have learned about all of these things is that they are overwhelming decisions to make because there are lots of things to consider. There are lots of options to choose from. There are cost implications for many of those things. And obviously, there's a cost benefit analysis that needs to be conducted to determine what level of risk somebody's willing to take. That's a lot. Most people will never start because they don't know the answer to the very first question. But that is not a good reason to not start. And so this tool is really designed to help people overcome that fear and overcome that uncertainty and really just hone in on one single thing. Now, what we do here is a big part of the work is in defining pathways and defining prerequisites and defining all the different ways that somebody could achieve success in a particular area. And then as we work to define those, we can say, okay, well, here are the steps. Here's what you need to do. You need to have good credit. You need to have a business plan. You need to have funding. You need to have a proof of concept. You need to have a lot of things established, but you don't need to have all that up front. You need to have one thing done. And what we're able to do by defining what these pathways look like for individuals is begin to populate their action steps with appropriate activities that they can execute on. Now, I'll be honest, I've been building a lot of things lately, and I haven't touched this in a couple of months. It may be 3 months now that I've last worked on this. And so I've learned a lot, and there's a lot of things that I'm going to want to do with this as we go into the future. And so I have more work to do, and I need to think more about how we can create opportunities for people to leverage this tool in a way that's going to be as frictionless as possible. And so I'll talk a little bit about the ways that we're going to do that from a business angle here in just a minute, but I wanted to just take you through a little bit more of what we have planned for people. So first and foremost, we have a financial profile. So once you've populated all of your assets, your accounts, your investments, that allows us to establish a financial profile. And then we also have the ability to capture a financial profile, an extended financial profile through all of the questions that you answer in the application. So we're building up this knowledge base of who you as the customer are, and that's enabling us to then make better recommendations. And so this is really important. But as we think about this, okay, so there's some high level details here. We have an extended profile where we can populate a little bit more metadata about an individual or a family. And then we have a banker's view. And this is something that is particularly interesting because there's a couple of pieces to this. First and foremost, if you're somebody who's going to go out and look for any kind of financing, you don't want to apply for that financing before you're sure you're going to get approved. And so if your financial health is poor, it's best not to ask for that credit because it's going to ding your score. It's going to make your score even lower. So a good banker would tell you not to apply based on those details. But if you just wanted to know what a banker would see if they looked at your finances, that's what this is for. And we can even go a step further and create tools for bankers to be able to see what we think your financial health is based on a lot of factors, including your engagement with the application. If they want to fund your business idea with a loan, maybe they want to know that you've been working on a daily basis to advance toward that goal. And we have the data inside of the system, the engagement data, to be able to show the banker that this person actually does go in every day and advance their goals. They do take steps to work in that direction. And then we have our financial facts, which again is very very similar to everything else that you're seeing in here, but it's allowing us to capture this complete financial profile. Assets are what they sound like, accounts are what they sound like. As we move through the development process, we will tie in with different vendors to be able to capture that account information pretty easily. There are vendors, so we don't have to recreate the wheel on any of that stuff. And then investments. Now, the last thing I'll share here, outside of just showing recommendations, is we're not aiming to be a financial advisor. From a business perspective, if I wanted to be a financial advisor, I'd have to go get my Series 7. I'd have to go get different licensure to be able to practice that advice in the state. Now, we're not going to do that. We're not looking to be a financial advisor. We're not giving people investment advice. That's far from what we're aiming to do. But what we do want to do is we want to help people recognize what it is that they could consider for action. And I say action, I don't mean um, specific um, investment advice. You're not going to take out a health life insurance plan or some kind of financial vehicle that's going to be an investment fund for you in the future. That's not what this is for. This is simply a tool to help you both track how you're progressing towards your goals, but also to have abundant clarity around what those goals are, as well as allowing you to have clarity around what you should be doing at any given time. Now, one of the things that we'll be doing with this is we will be recommending products that will help you achieve success. The right product at the right time is the way that we're going to help people go where they want to go. And then the last piece here is we get the wonderful advantage of observing the behavior and the engagement data for everybody who ever logs into this. And so what we'll be doing is we'll be observing what kinds of outcomes different users have. And based on what activities they're performing, do they get those outcomes? That data will in turn allow us to give better recommendations to our users to say, hey, users who log in every day for the first 10 days are twice as likely to reach their goals in this calendar year. And that's not a factual data point, but we could say something like that, given having data in hand to be able to succeed there. And that's the gist of it. Now, I think what my next hurdle is going to be is to clearly articulate what it is that this application is supposed to be doing for whom, so that we can be abundantly clear on the value proposition. Now, I think I know exactly who this is for, but I need to do a little bit more work, and that will be some research that I'll need to do in order to secure a financial investment, which is going to be the next step for Bankwell. This application has the opportunity to completely upend how wealth is derived, how people think about planning and moving into the future. And so I'll share with you just a little bit more of the back end here. So we do have an admin dashboard, which has a lot of the same previews, but I wanted to show you a little bit more of the back end that we have here. And just kind of quickly showing you just basic management views that allow us to have some visibility. So user administration is pretty straightforward. We can set up different roles to allow us to set permissions and access rules. And we can program this however we want. We can put whatever we want in here, and we can pull down relevant information that might give us some insight into how the system's working or anything else that might matter. Data can come from anything, any interaction, any throughput. Relatively easy to capture that. We have the need to manage how email templates are working. I will be honest, if you do any of this work, this will be one area that you spend a pretty significant amount of time. There's a lot of thought and planning that needs to go into automated notifications, whether it be in-app, email, or text message. A lot of time will end up going into this because there are endless notifications that you might be thinking you need. And you also need to tame it. You need to make sure that you don't have too many notifications to where people just turn them off. And so, some of the work here is to define what the thresholds are, the triggers are for those notifications, so that we can bring people back into the app and actually get out of it, out of those users, what we aim to get out of them. Now, we'll still have to wire up email sending service. I use Resend. It's pretty easy to integrate with Lovable apps, and it also gives you a nice ability to be able to monitor the sending and receiving those messages. The other thing that it does is you can receive messages through Resend, and you can look at open rates and click rates and all that stuff. That data can be pulled right back into this platform once you have that data. So that's always more that you can be doing there. And then as we have more users that come in here, obviously it'll be good for us to know what kinds of recommendations people like. So just more data and insights that we get to leverage to be able to make decisions about how the platform develops. We also have the ability to populate different profile questions, and this is just a start. There's so many more here that we're probably going to add. But again, you have to be thinking about how do you gather the data that's necessary to provide recommendations in the first place. We have to have clarity in order to do that. I'll show you here. I also have the ability to adjust the coach's settings. Now, this is all AI, so this is going to be uh, essentially tuning a model, and we can change the models with this. We can tie in with Gemini using Lovable. They use the 2.5 Flash model, and then we can also tie in with an OpenAI API and use all of those models as well. As long as your AI has a API, you'll be able to integrate it with your build. And there's going to be a lot more work that goes into the coach settings. I'm going to be relying a little bit more heavily on a rules-based coach approach. So a lot of control as the foundation, but then leveraging AI a little bit more just for those faster decisions. Now, we've got a few things that we're going to have to do here. We're going to have to protect personally identifiable information. There is a lot of personally identifiable information in here, so that's going to be one thing we're going to have to do. Another thing that we're going to have to do is we're going to have to be able to give the full context of each user to that AI so that it can make sounder decisions. So we're going to have to make sure that we come up with a smart indexing system so that whenever details are captured, we can distill those details down to more bite-sized chunks of information so that we can make decisions much faster and with less compute. Anything that we're building, we have to be conscious of the compute costs. That's a big part of all this stuff, especially if you're using AI to get there. And I'll just give you an example. I'm building a chat bot, and I'm building a what do I want to call it, an ebook reader, I guess. You can create your own audiobook. Sorry, is what I'm looking for. Audiobook from your transcript, and that's not. You could do that with 11 Labs without a piece of software, but the tool that I'm building is designed specifically for authors to be able to listen back to their tens of thousands of words without having to read and edit and do all these things. And the story there is 11 Labs. I've burned through all my credits with just a couple of prompts because I've got 50,000 words of book that need to be converted to voice. And so everything has costs from the AI side, the compute side, and we have to think about how we can manage those costs. And we also have to think about how we are going to pass those costs on to customers so that we can remain solvent as a business. And so we'll have to be mindful of all those things. And everything that I've built that leverages an AI model, um, I have had to do some kind of tuning to make sure that we are delivering the requirements of the app while also not overdoing it. We certainly can make decisions to use all kinds of AI that have all kinds of costs. And if you look at the 11 Labs API, there are probably 24 different services that their API will connect you to. Each one of those services have a different cost. Sometimes you might be using a couple of different services, and so all that stuff are things that you've got to be mindful of. Obviously, we're going to have product management. So, what are we recommending to people out there so that they can achieve their goals? So we'll have to gather all that information and have that. Of course, we're going to want to have analytics so we can understand, well, what's it cost to acquire a user, and what's their customer lifetime value? What's their churn rate look like? How often do people spend inside the application? How do people engage? What's the segmentation look like? What are the engagement trends? Now, all of this stuff, just to give you a sense, this is not real data. It's just mock data that is designed to allow us, at least give us visibility of what this looks like, and help us think a little bit more about what we may want when it comes to in analytics. Okay, yeah, I love this, I want this, or hey, I need some more detail on this. How do we get more granular over here? So, a lot of this stuff, and if you're building something for yourself, I've learned that the best thing to do is to skin it first. So, build up all the views and see what it's going to look like, and get a feel for what it's going to feel like, and work on it from there. Resend. Yeah, there's a few different email sending services out there. I have found Resend to be a great tool. It's inexpensive. It ties in with a lot of different services, and you can keep an eye on that flow of messages. If you don't know that your Lovable app didn't send an email, you don't know it. So, a big part I found that so a couple of the biggest problems that I've had in Lovable builds are two key areas. One is authentication. So Lovable uses Supabase, and Supabase has its own built-in authentication system, but it is not very good. They have a magic link method. In order to do the password reset, you have to go through a bunch of hoops to be able to make it work. But it is Supabase that is providing that security, and so we have to play with them to some degree. I have found that just building components that allow us to do the things that we very specifically want to do without relying too heavily on those third party services is a big way that we can get there. And then the other one is, I said user creation, notifications. Notification triggers are not always simple. Oftentimes, triggers are going to be predicated on a few different factors being positive. And so, as you're building and as you're defining what notifications you want to have happen, just keep in mind that as you make changes, you may find that those notifications get sidelined because of something that you changed, not realizing that there was a sequence that was designed and set up to be able to enable that trigger to happen. When you make the change, it might break that cycle and prevent the trigger from actually sending the email. Of course, revenue analytics, as we get to revenue, we'll be able to have a better understanding of how we are activating those people from a financial perspective, but also what's the conversion funnel look like? How do we know that we're actually successful at moving people toward the activities that are going to help us generate revenue? Cohort analytics, exactly as it sounds, this helps us track performance over time. And then the predictive analytics is really, from my perspective, the area where we're going to have a lot of power because we're going to leverage this data to be able to say the right things at the right times to get people to come in and do the thing that we want them to do. Now, I'm not going to be able to dive deeper into the overview, the foundation, architecture, or the UX because those are some protected areas. But if you're hanging out with me today and you have any questions about this that I didn't cover and you're just kind of burning there, let me know. I want to make sure that this is a helpful show and tell session. Again, I haven't worked on this build in a little while, so it's been a bit, and my memory on where everything is a little bit fuzzy. You can see one thing that is important here is I don't have a product roadmap, so that kind of tells you time-wise where I was. I didn't build my universal product roadmap until this year, and I was building product roadmaps into apps that I was building last year, but I was not doing it in every single one of them. Now, if we go back to my studio website, you can see that the roadmap is a part of how we can be successful here. It's how we can explain to potential investors what's next and what we're building, where we're at now. And so some of these, when you take a look at them, they'll show you where we're at with the roadmap. And I must not have wired that one up. But we have tied that in. Nope. I'm going to find one. One of these has got it. This one hasn't. My roadmap for Agent Workroom is wired up from Agent Workroom's roadmap. So it's going to populate here in just a second. At least I hope it will. We did connect an API to enable this. I'm going to refresh my screen and see if it moves a little bit faster. But that might be something that we've got to work on today. No, there it goes. Okay. User experience wise, that's not good. We're going to figure out why that stalled. So that would be something that I would be activating here in just a second. But let me um, let me get into Lovable here and actually take a look at this. If you're new to this, you're watching Vibe Coding Live with Will Melton. This is show and tell day, so I'm just showing off some things that I've built. I'm going to do a little bit of coding. Right now, when I go to load an app that has a looped in product roadmap, I notice that there is a bit of a hang. A little earlier, I tried to look at the agent workroom product roadmap and it just spun for a very long time. I realize that we're connected to other applications, but I need to improve latency in any way that we can. Can you see in the logs why it slowed down 3 loads ago? So, when it comes to prompting a lovable project, I find that there's lots of different strategies. One strategy could be defining what you think is good. What is the outcome that you're really looking for, the business case, the design, the overall kind of detail level. Another way is to ask it questions and just say, hey, I don't know this, but I want to know this. Can you tell me what I don't know? And it's really good at doing that. And one of the things that I'm going to show you here today, this is relatively new. This came out a couple days ago for Lovable. So it's actually giving you a look behind the curtain, which a lot of AI has been doing for a while, but Lovable has not been very good at doing this. This has been incredibly helpful to me as I build these things because I'm building really fast. And I don't always know some of the nomenclature. I don't know some of the files. I don't know some of the markups, some of the table headers. And so by reading this, it kind of informs me a little bit of what's happening and it gives me enough insight to be able to know more about the code and to be a smarter prompter for future instructions. Which takes me to the third approach, which are instructions, where you're telling it exactly what to do because you know what the problem is or you know what you're looking for and you have abundant clarity about what it is that you need. Those instructions can be firm, they can be loose. You can tell it to interpret things. You can, be 100% with it. And then, what am I not thinking about here? Um, Other ways to prompt lovable. I've told you guys a little bit if you've been following me for a little bit. The product roadmap is a great way to go. You can prompt it to make many changes all at once. It'll do it in succession, but you can watch it proceed through a number of different changes. But I have really found that this has been helpful. Now, I've gotten some sticky issues that I've been working on that have not necessarily uh, this has not helped with. I think there's some sticky issues that, despite Lovable being 72% better than it was a week ago or whatever, it just gets stuck. And I think that's the nature of AI. It doesn't always have total comprehension, and it doesn't always translate to the outcomes that we want. Because AI does give us what we want most of the time, it can be a little frustrating to find ourselves in the situation. But I've found that patience is the key there if you want to be successful and actually get to the finish line. So I'm going to close this and just see what it said. It looks like it's going to create a cached roadmap for us so that we don't have to pull it every single time, which is great. I'll reload the screen and see how much faster it loads this time. It should be a little bit faster, but we might need to load it twice to get that outcome. Okay, so it loaded a little bit faster that time. I'm going to refresh one more time and see if the caching worked. No, it's still taking a long time. I'm still having a really long loading speed. I'm looking at it right now. I've been looking at it for about 10 seconds and it still has not loaded. This is a bug. You can type to Lovable. It's helpful if it's already doing something or if you get a lot of noise in the room or can't really talk. I've just found that being as verbal as possible, sharing as much verbal commands as possible can go a long way to getting more information to the AI. Whereas if you're typing, you might be a little bit more judicious with what you share because you're still fighting the clock, still trying to be efficient with what you're typing. And so I find that speaking works the best for me. but it's not always not always appropriate. So if I go back in here to the Bank Wealth app and just kind of look around here, I want to talk a little bit about what's on the horizon for this because, like I said, there's more development work that needs to happen. So some of the things that we're going to be spending a lot of time on is obviously security. As a big part of this financial data is, need to make sure that we protect that and not find ourselves at risk in the future of exposing any of that. We also need to build the model. So the model right now is very preliminary. It's based on some simple rules, but it's far from inclusive of all the scenarios and different outcomes that could be, all the different considerations that we might want to incorporate into it. So we need to build that model out. And that's both kind of the rules-based mechanisms. So how do we provide advice? How do, what are the pathways? What do those things look like? Um, but also, the model itself, the code. So how do we organize information in the system, and um, how do we define the rules? Where do rules begin to drive the execution, and where does AI step in and help us make decisions, make recommendations, or move information around? All that stuff will have to be thought about with a lot of detail, more detail than I'll be able to think about on my own. And that's part of the reason why I'll be seeking an investment in this product. In addition to that, to be able to make something like this successful, there's about four different revenue pathways on this, from referral revenue to direct service revenue to subscription, premium subscription options, and licensing the technology to others who would have an interest. So there's a clear pathway to revenue, but in order to succeed, we're going to have to be able to get to a really solid MVP that can be usable, that people can actually interact with and pay for. And we also have to be able to market it effectively. So we need to be able to get out there and start to share the message. So that's going to be the case with any product. But some products are going to be much harder to start than others. Sometimes you're going to have the ability to um, kind of find an audience right away that is interested in buying that product. And I've got a couple of those. I think my sound rewrite product is one that could probably have paying users tomorrow if I finalized it. I've been testing it a little bit more because I want it to be a super smooth experience for people. I've been really happy with it. I've been able to listen to my book. I've been able to find edits that I want to make, which I wouldn't have identified had I had to read it. And so that one would actually be easier to pursue, but I'm not looking for easy. I'm looking to solve problems. So thanks, Jim, for the question. You're asking if I have ever done data encryption with Lovable. Um, I have not done data encryption specifically. What I have been doing is row level security primarily, but I would suspect that we might need an encryption. Well, okay, let me back up. So yes, I have done encryption with Lovable, specifically around API connectivity. So I've been able to create API keys that connect different applications together. So to some degree, yes, but as far as data encryption goes, specifically, no. Um, but I suspect that there's going to be some kind of service that we're going to have to tie in with some kind of API. But you're starting to touch on the more technical things that I would then have to go and do some research around to figure out the answer for that. So if you have any insights, I'd be happy to hear it. I think as I get to the maturity stage of a lot of these applications, one of the things that I'm finding is that security question is one of the ones that's lingering in the back of my mind, is one of the key areas that's going to be uh, necessary for somebody to focus on. That's not my area. I don't mind focusing on security as a priority, but I don't have the patience or the capacity personally to address those things. So, I'm going to build 52 apps this year, and if I do, hypothetically, there could be 52 different businesses. I don't have the capacity to run 52 different businesses, so I'm going to need smarter people than me who can come in and help out. And some of these will run. I think I'll take you over to Sound Rewrite again, because that one has been coming together in a pretty big way. Um, and this one is something that I could probably hire one or two people to really help out with. So just a few things. So if you've been following along, and I'll just give a quick plug. If you're joining us for the very first time, this is Live Vibe Coding with Will Melton. You can follow me on studio.willmelton.com. That is where we put all of our projects. That's where you can watch all of these historical live streams. You can find our actual live right on there. And then you can subscribe over on YouTube. That helps me out a lot. If you have not done that yet, it just pushes us a little bit further into the stratosphere so other people can learn this. Twitch is up there. That's where I maintain my schedule. So if you see my schedule on my homepage, that is where that's coming from, is from Twitch. So I've wired together a few different things to make all of this work for you guys. I've got OBS is my streaming software that allows me to see my feeds and push out to you guys. It also gives me all of my inputs, my screen capture, my camera, my audio devices, all that stuff. And gosh, so many different things. Restream is helping me actually manage the stream itself. But let's get back into this real quick. So sound rewrite, what I've done is you can reorganize chapters, which is seems like a simple thing to do, but to be able to do that really quickly takes a little bit more effort than just dragging and dropping. So one of those things that we can do. And as you can see, I have some issues. I have a little bit of, it's not showing me properly where I'm dropping that when I reorder it. I have a similar thing here. So a couple things I'll show you about this that I like. I can reduce the size of these so that it just shows a preview so that I don't have to sort by like big stretches, big drags. So I can drag a little bit easier. The other thing that I've done here is you can see how these have a little audio ready to play icon there, indicator. That means that that particular paragraph has been transcribed, and these paragraphs get transcribed one paragraph at a time with the audio file saved to that paragraph. So that, and it also tracks. So when we go and edit the text here, it's actually going to indicate, hey, this audio file is out of date. We need to recapture it. It also captures in succession. So as I started here, it's going to uh, do the text to voice first on this one, and then move to this one, and then move to this one and this one. So it's going to go in order. What that's going to do is it's going to allow us to actually start playing the book before the transcription or the voice to, text to voice is actually completed, which is a better user experience. We also have some other things. So I've been listening to this, so I can go back to my marker, and it's going to pick up where I left off the last time I started playing. I've also added this marker to indicate what the paragraph is that we're listening to, and it's going to follow along as we listen. So it's going to advance down here. The other thing that's going to happen is I think I said, I can click play here and advance to this section anytime I want to, and it's going to persist. So if I leave out of this and close it and come back and hit play, it's going to pick up where it left off. I can also listen at different speeds, so I can accelerate my listen back. And then I can also leave notes. I've got a little error here that I was working on earlier today that says failed to add note. Well, I haven't added the note yet, so it's just a order issue. And I also have a microphone button here, so I can just speak to it and say, hey, let's allow it. I need to leave feedback on this right now. And I haven't tested this yet. So I do have a tester in here. So I'd be curious to know what your experience is with that. But I'm finding some initial problems here with the voice transcript. Now, I have worked on this one a little bit so that we have more of a mobile viewer. So if I were to shrink my screen down right now, it would have a more compact view that would be a little bit easier to manage. But more work to do on that because as it stands, it's hard to navigate the outline, and there's a lot of text for a mobile view. So you can see here we must have made a change somewhere because it's asking us if we want to regenerate our stale audio sections. And I think what I would do just from a user experience perspective is I want to know which one's stale. So how do I don't want to click this regen button because I want to actually find out which one is stale before I do that. So I've got some work to do to be able to get clearer on just having a very smooth user experience. I think ChatGPT, when I asked it at the end of the year to tell it about me, it said something like "smooth as butter" was what I had a common phrase of saying. And it for me, I'm all about the user experience. So if you don't make it easier for people to do what it is that you're trying to do, um, why'd you do it in the first place? I think everybody needs help. And so a lot of, I think, I share these things and I go live with you guys so that I can show you that anything you can imagine, you can have. And you don't have to have all the answers first. You can start with a simple question or a concept or an idea and go from there. Um, Now, I'm slowing down a little bit. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm not adding new apps every single day. I mean, sometimes this month I was adding new apps every single day because I had ideas every single day. But at some point, I really have to get into maintenance mode and come back in and start cleaning things up. Hydration Media was one of the first apps that I built. It's still clunky. There's still a lot of manual action that needs to happen to make this functional. And I have real tangible potential customers with this because the company that I buy the refill stations from, an Australian company, they also manage a rental business. And the people that they sell the refill stations to, they also manage a rental business. And so I've built a complementary software product to accompany a physical hardware product that they sell. And so it's in my interest to reach out to them, have that conversation and see if it's something that they'd be interested in. But yeah, I think I will be able to get to 52 apps this year. But what's going to end up happening is I will not be just always building new, but I will be doing some maintenance on some of the things that I'm working on so that they can continue to advance and serve in their respective utilities for my businesses or for the users who are out there. So I will continue on. I will keep building, but I'm also looking for ideas. So please share with me what you've got. I think one of the things that I worked on the other day, I didn't get into it yet today, but if we go in and take a look at AI Arcade, that is a newer one that we've been working on, and that was, gosh, was that yesterday? AI Arcade is pretty cool. This is all about helping people learn AI and we've built up a pretty smooth interface. I would say it's not overwhelming, um, but it is pretty straightforward. It looks a little bit more like a website than it does a game. I could probably give it that feedback, but we've been able to go through the experience and actually play, learn, and test. I asked you guys to share any feedback that you had. Nobody shared any feedback. That's fine. I don't expect you guys to leave these live streams and then go do more work for me. But this one's a community project, so any feedback we can get on this that will help us make it better and make it a functional tool for people who are trying to learn more about I welcome those ideas, and if there's any bugs with this, I welcome feedback so that we can get those things fixed up. Obviously, a lot more to go here, and a lot of different tools out there. We want to be able to give people a complete education, and different people learn at different paces, and different people have different interests. So anything we can do to make this more functional is going to be welcome. Now, I've got about 5 minutes left on this live stream. I'm going to wrap up at 6:30 today after a long day at work. It's a little draining to jump on here, but I'm happy to do it. I really am. I'm excited to be with you guys and to share what I've learned, and I'm excited to continue to learn because every time I sit down and do this work, there's something around the corner that I couldn't see, that I couldn't imagine that I needed, and I'm constantly learning what's next and what else could be. And that's the discovery part. So I'll share one more thing with you as I wrap up. It's not in here. I don't have it in here. So let me go over to my chat bot. So what I've been working on is this sales agent that can sit on my website, and we can talk to it and engage with it and get it to help us. And so I'll show you a few things here with it, and I'll you can see what's wrong with it.
Hi there, I'm your Exponent 21 assistant. Tap the orb to start speaking or type your message below. What brings you here today?
I'm looking to learn more about AI search engine optimization. Hey, Glenn, thanks for joining me. If you're jumping off, thanks for hanging out. And if you have any ideas, send me a direct message. I'm happy to think about it, figure out how we might work it into this program. So right now, it didn't work. So this is kind of what we run into. Now, one of the things, the reason I brought this up today is because of two things. So I've been having this issue with this where I'm talking to it, and it just starts talking gibberish in the beginning, and then at some point it'll just stop and skip about a second of audio. And the skipping is probably the easier thing to fix, but the gibberish audio output is a more challenging thing to fix. And so let me just show you really quickly how I have this set up. So I thought, oh, this is going to be smart. I'm going to build this voice agent that uses 11 Labs, and I'm going to be able to deploy it on my website. And all this stuff is true. I'll be able to do all this. And I'm using the API for 11 Labs to get it all done. But what I didn't research enough was all the different services that 11 Labs has. So you can see here I have a knowledge base built into this, and that is so that I can feed it with some foundational information so it can be smarter about answering questions, and then recommended actions. So if somebody asks this or says that, here's what we want you to do. This can kind of tee up some more accelerated pathways to information. Now, I have found that as I've fought with the initial gibberish audio output that I experienced, um, there's actually 11 Labs has an agent that handles all this stuff for you. So I could have just deployed the agent model and tied in the API, and I wouldn't have had to do all this. But I would have had to have gone into the 11 Labs agent and populated all of those roadmap items, excuse me, knowledge base items manually. They do not have an AI interface, or at least I couldn't find one. Whereas with Lovable, I can just dump stuff into the chat window and populate this really quickly. And so I had a little bit of a debate earlier about, do we want to switch to the 11 Labs agent mode so that we can eliminate some of these problems, but then have more work to do on populating the knowledge base? Or do we try to fix this? Now, Lovable recommended that we try to fix this. So that's the path the way I took. We're still not there yet. It's obviously it wasn't even working just then. And so I'll have to make some evaluations at some point about whether or not we actually want to pursue that, or if I want to switch over to 11 Labs agent mode. I dread manually populating anything, so I'm going to try to avoid that if I can. But if I can't get this to work, it's not going to do much for us. As I think about this, what I'll be thinking about is primarily what functionality do we want to have in this so that we can do what we want to do.
Exponent 21 assistant. Tap the orb to start speaking or type your message below. What brings you here today?
Tell me more about the company.
Exponent, help them earn visibility, trust, and demand in today's search environment.
Okay, so here you can see this right away. Right away, it's already talking gibberish again. And so what I did earlier did not work. And so I'll have to make some decisions here. I might play with it a little bit more, but I've been working on this long enough to be frustrated at this point. It may just be easier for me to build the chatbot widget part and let that go. But here's why I'm interested in this. Even if I just go over to the 11 Labs model, one of the things that I'm really excited about is being able to do different things in the chatbot. So being able to give people forms to fill out, being able to allow people to watch videos, to be able to learn that way. And so I want to, again, as we interact, it's going to ask us questions like, hey, do you want to watch a video, or do you want to see a case study? And so what I really like about this is being able to bring these experiences right to people in the interface. And obviously I'll have to fix my player because I can't unmute this, it's too small. But bringing that data to people in a rich way right there in the interface with the most smooth way of interfacing, which is voice, in my opinion. Not everybody's going to use it, but I do, again, love the flexibility of control and what I'm able to do. So what we'll have to figure out is, can we blend the two of those together and have the best of both worlds? But I did notice that when we're in voice mode, like here, the video, I don't get to actually view the video right inside of the chat window. So I have kind of a conflicting interface here, the voice mode versus the text mode, where I really want them to actually be a little bit more integrated. Where if I said I want to watch a video, I want the video to show up inside this chat. So that's going to be some of the things that I work on with this. But just giving you a little bit of picture behind the curtain. A little tidbit about me: my great 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 uncle is Bert Lahr, the Cowardly Lion in The Wizard of Oz. Talk about the behind the curtain all the time. So that's it. Again, share your ideas. Follow me on LinkedIn, Twitch. Go over to YouTube and subscribe if you haven't done that yet. And fill out the quick referral form on studio.willmelton.com so that you can be a part of the ecosystem and get a finder's fee or an introductory fee for anybody who might be a potential buyer to these apps or a potential investor to these apps. And if you think of something smarter for how I might be able to do that better, I welcome you to share those details as well. But at 6:32 here on this Monday, that's a wrap. Thank you so much once again. I appreciate you all for following. You're making me smarter for it, and I hope I'm making you smarter for it too.